Yo, welcome back to the fifth round. As always, myself, Stephen Moustaris. And with UFC 264 this week, I've been breaking down some of the fights and whatnot. And I honestly think one of my most anticipated fights, more like fighters to make their return for the year, is Stephen Wonderboy Thompson. And we get to see him in the co-main event against Gilbert Burns, coming off the loss from Kamaru Usman for the title fight in February. And I don't know, I think we've all been sitting here watching Kamaru Usman just absolutely dominate the division, and he's almost running out of opponents. And then we're all sitting here, I think all of us fans that really love the actual sport, we're all sitting here like, hey, what about Wonderboy Thompson? Like, that actually could be a really big matchup. He hasn't even fought him yet, like Leon Edwards. I mean, I know he hasn't fought him since he's got the belt and whatnot, but that's been the number one contender. And then we're like, matchup that we wanted to see, and then we see what Nate Diaz does to him in the fifth round. So now we're all like, I think we'd rather see Diaz versus Usman. But now all eyes are on Stephen Wonderboy Thompson. Clearly, there's kickboxing fans out there and whatnot, and especially the guys that train kickboxing. Like, we all love Wonderboy Thompson just for, I know he's got a karate style, but the dude's kickboxing is one of a kind. And I don't know. I just think it's his time. I think like a very, very good finish, or a very decisive finish but a decisive win against Gilbert Burns, I think just gives him that opportunity and maybe the chance to jump Colby Covington. Because if you look at it, Usman's ready to give Wonderboy the fight. Like, he's like, hey, I'll fight whoever. I want to fight somebody new though, and it's almost like, hey, the ball's in your court, Stephen Wonderboy Thompson. Like, I know if we look back at it, he got that draw with Woodley in the first title fight ever, and then he goes out and beats Jorge Masvidal, and then goes back out again and fights Woodley, but he loses. And then, it was a close fight, but yeah, he loses, and then he loses to Darren Till, and then he gets knocked out to Pettis. But then since, we've seen him come back against Luque and Geoff Neal. That was it. So, but we haven't seen him fight in the last couple months, and especially in the last couple years. It's only been a couple of times, and he is getting older. We see him talk about it all the time, and I think I want to say like 38. Like, no hate at all, he looks young as fuck, and he still could kick anybody's ass. But it's almost, I don't know, it's almost like, hey, this is your time. If you're ever going to do it, this would be your time. And I don't know, it's a tough matchup. I think if it stands, I think he definitely gets the win on Gilbert Burns. I don't see Gilbert Burns landing anything on him, but if Gilbert Burns does get him to the ground, I know Stephen Wonderboy Thompson's got like one of the greatest defensive rates on takedowns ever, but at the same time, you can't be fucking around with Gilbert Burns on the ground. You've seen Usman didn't want any of it, and you definitely know a lot of these guys don't want any of it. So I don't know, it's going to be a very fucking exciting fight. Gilbert Burns, he's looking definitely to get right back on track. Honestly, an impressive win for him might get him right back to Usman as well, because you got to think he was on a tear there for the end of 2019 through the end of 2020 before he had to fight Usman in February. But, if he gets right back on track, maybe one more fight away, or at least maybe sitting out for a couple months to get the next title fight if he decides to fight Covington or something. So I don't know. There's a lot of different opportunities that can happen with this fight, and honestly, it's just balls in these guys' court. Whoever can come out with the most impressive win, most likely got themselves, if not this next title fight, the one after he would fight Covington, if that's who he decides to fight. But if you had to ask me, clearly I'm going with the home team on Stephen Wonderboy Thompson. Just always been a big fan. I'm a kickboxer myself, so I love him to death, and I love Gilbert Burns as well. A huge fan of Gilbert Burns, but I don't know. I'm going with Wonderboy. I think it's his time. I think if anybody's going to catch Usman, I think it easily would be Wonderboy, just because he's so awkward. And if it stands up like Usman's been doing in his last couple of fights, where he's very confident in his stand-up, I think it's a very tough night for Usman. Just the distance, and he would just take so many body shots and whatnot. But so yeah, I'm definitely going Wonderboy. I hope he can win it out. I hope he can get this title fight. And honestly, after that, like, I hate to go into it, but just saying, if he goes on to fight Usman, I hope he wins and gets to, maybe win one more, like maybe just to defend the title once, maybe twice if he has to rematch Usman. And then if he loses to Usman, then maybe it's just his time. So this has been the fifth round. As always, myself, Stephen Moustaris, and thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope everyone has a great day.